Hello everyone. Today we are going to start second division of Plantae, that is Bryophyta. The name indicate Bryos mean mosses and Phyta mean plants. These are moss-like plants which give a mat-like appearance to forest area in which they are present. There are basically three types of bryophytes: mosses, liverworts, and hornworts. Here are the images of three types of bryophytes. First one, these are mosses which give moss-like mat-like appearance. These are liverworts. They remain attached to their substratum by a thallus-like structure, and these are hornworts which are present in mostly aquatic medium. Now let's start with the general characteristics of bryophytes. The term bryophyte is given by Robert Brown, and the basic or general characteristic of these plants are: the first one is they are simple first inhabiting land. ये बहुत ही सिंपल प्लांट्स होते हैं जिन्होंने सबसे पहले लैंड को इनहेबिट किया था. Second, these are non-vascular plants. They do not have vascular tissue, that is xylem and phloem. Next, no seed और फ्लावर आर फॉर्म. ना ही इनमें सीड की फॉर्मेशन होती है और ना ही फ्लावर की फॉर्मेशन होती है. फादर ऑफ बायोलॉजी, हु इज फादर ऑफ बायोलॉजी? हेजविग इज known to be father of bryology, that is study of bryophytes. Now let's move to the general characteristic of bryophytes. These are mostly terrestrial and some forms are aquatic. They also show alternation of generation, that is two type of phases of lifespan: gametophytic phase and sporophytic phase. But the dominant phase of their life cycle is haploid gametophyte, which is photosynthetic thalloid, or it may be erect. Now, the haploid gametophyte is independent of sporophyte. It do not depends upon sporophyte. Now, second phase of lifespan is sporophyte. It also shows many stages, but it is dependent upon gametophyte. It depends upon gametophyte for anchorage and nutrition. Anchorage means it obtains sport from the gametophyte and also nutrition from the gametophyte. Both phases show many stages, so their life cycle is known as haplodiplontic life cycle. क्योंकि अगर दोनों की बहुत सारी stages हैं तो हैप्लोइड फेज भी उनका काफ़ी बड़ा है और डिप्लॉइड फेज भी काफ़ी बड़ा है, तो इसीलिए हम उसको हैप्लोडिप्लॉन्टिक लाइफ साइकिल कहते हैं. बट डोमिनेंट फेज इज गेमिटोफाइट बिकॉज इट स्पोर्ट स्पोरोफाइट, that is why it is known as dominant phase of bryophyte. Now next characteristic is sporophyte is considered as parasite on gametophyte. We know that what is parasite, which takes nutrition from the body of other organism. So here sporophyte takes nutrition from gametophyte, that is why it is known as parasite on gametophyte. Now the plant body of bryophyte remain fixed to substratum by means of unicellular or multicellular rhizoids, that are root-like structures which are known as rhizoids. We know that bryophytes do not have true root, stem and leaves, but they have root, stem and leaf like structures. उनमें true root, stem, leaves नहीं होते, but root, stem and leaf like structure are present in bryophytes. Now let's move to the reproduction. Reproduction is of two types: vegetative reproduction and sexual reproduction. Vegetative reproduction takes place by means of fragmentation, tuber formation or gamete formation, and also by buds formation. Now we will discuss these terms. First is fragmentation. If a part of thallus or body gets separated, then it will form a new organism. Tubers, these are formed during unfavorable condition. These are underground and can form a new organism. Gamete, these are special buds which when get detached from the plant body, they form new organism. And birds, this stage is present in mosses. We will discuss it later. Now, sexual reproduction, gametes are formed in special structures. Now, let's move to the next point, that is sex organ. Now, we know that the bryophytes have developed sex organs. These sex organs are stalked, multicellular, and surrounded by a single layer called jacket layer, which protect these gametes or protect the cells which form gametes. Now, sex organs are of two types, male sex organ and female sex organ. Male sex organ is known as antheridium and female sex organ is known as archegonium. The antheridium, that is male sex organ, it produces flagellated male gametes called antherozoid. That is an important point. The name of male gamete, these are also known as sperms, but the main term is given them is antherozoids, and inside the archegonium only one egg is produced. Now let's see the structure of antheridium and archegonium. Now you can see here the structure of antheridium and archegonium. This one structure is of archegonium. This yellowish structure is archegonium. It is divided into three parts. This one part is known as stalk of archegonium. This swollen part is known as venter of archegonium, and this part is known as neck of archegonium. Their two cells are present here which are known as cover cells. Now, when male gamete enter the archegonium, it enters through this neck canal and reach up to the egg cell to fertilize it. Here, special chemicals or attractants are secreted by archegonium to attract the male gametes towards the egg to perform fertilization. Now, let's move to the antheridium. This structure is known as antheridium. This brown color layer, this brown color layer of cells is known as jacket layer, that is sterile jacket. Sterile means it do not form gametes. Now, these yellowish cells that are fertile cells will form male gametes or antherozoid in bryophytes. So these are the two sex organs of bryophytes or gametangia that produce gametes. Archegonium, egg-bearing organ with a long neck, extend beyond the venter. It is capped at the tip with cover cells. Antheridium, it is sperm-bearing organ with an outer row of sterile, non-sperm forming cells enclosing inner fertile cell. These brown cells are sterile cells. They do not form gamete and they cover the fertile cells or egg forming cells. Now, let's explain these structures. Structure of antheridium and archegonium. We have explained the basic structure, that is antheridium has mainly two parts, sterile jacket and fertile cells, and archegonium has three parts, stalk, venter and neck. Now let's move to the next characteristic. These are known as amphibians of plant kingdom because they require water to complete their life cycle. ये हम नाइन्थ क्लास में भी पढ़ चुके हैं कि इनको वाटर की रिक्वायरमेंट होती है, किस लिए? जो इनके मेल गैमीट्स होते हैं, दे swim through water and then they reach up to the female gamete. So, if water is not there in their environment, their fertilization cannot take place. That is why they require water to complete their life cycle. So, known as amphibians of plant kingdom. So, they are, that is why they are found in moist and shady places where moisture is there to help them to complete their life cycle or help them in fertilization. They possess root, stem, leaf like structures. Fertilization produces an embryo inside the archegonium. The embryo then grows into sporophyte. Now let's move to the general structure of or general life cycle of these plants. Now we know that there are three groups of bryophytes, that is liverworts, hornworts and mosses. Now this is the general life cycle of these plants. Let's start with spores. First of all, the spores or the meiospores, when they germinate, they form gametophyte. Spores are haploid and gametophyte is also haploid. The gametophyte will bear two types of sex organ, antheridia and archegonia. Antheridia will form antherozoids or male gametes, archegonia will form egg. Now fertilization takes place and zygote is formed. Zygote is the first cell of sporophyte. Now mitosis takes place in zygote. It will form sporophyte or embryo. Just wait a minute. Now this sporophyte will bear spore mother cells, and this spore mother cell undergoes sporic meiosis and forms spores. In case of mosses, other stages are also present after germination of spores. जो spores हैं, when they germinate, they form a filamentous structure that is known as protonema. It will bear buds, that is a type of vegetative reproduction, and then these buds directly germinate to form gametophyte. So this one is the general life cycle of all types of bryophytes or all groups of bryophytes. We know that here two phases. This blue phase represents sporophytic generation and this whitish part that represent gametophytic generation. We know that gametophytic generation also bears stages and sporophytic generation also bear many stages. That is why the life cycle is known as haplodiplontic life cycle. But gametophytic phase is dominant because it supports the sporophyte. Now let us discuss this life cycle. Explanation of general life cycle of bryophytes. We know that main plant body is haploid gametophyte. It produces gametes. Gametes are produced in multicellular sex organs, antheridium and archegonium. Antheridium produce male gametes, archegonium produce single egg. Then antherozoid released into water, they enter archegonium through venter. Zygote is formed after fertilization. Zygote divide to form sporophyte inside the archegonium. It remain attached to gametophyte for nourishment. Their reduction division occurs in it. Then spores are produced by meiosis and spore germinate to produce gametophyte. Now, the different types of bryophytes are, there are three classes: Hepaticopsida, Anthoceropsida and Bryopsida, that is liverworts, hornworts and mosses. We will discuss these classes one by one in the coming videos. Now, if you understood this video, then like it, share it and subscribe the channel. Thank you.